Hello, everyone, and welcome to D2C Dialogues. Today, we have with us Sneh Jain, the founder of The Baker's Dozen. The Baker's Dozen is a neighborhood artisan bakery which offers an exquisite variety of international baked goodies. The central idea behind the concept is to serve extremely high quality, freshly baked, authentic European breads and bakery products. Welcome to the show, Sneh.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Sneh, you have got an impressive background. You can share that with us. And the first question that comes in my mind with this kind of an impressive educational and work experience, how and why did you start the Baker's Dozen?
Fair. Hitesh, I'm from Bombay originally. I did my engineering over there, then did my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. The classic, middle class kid who used to study a lot and come first in class. Reached IIM Ahmedabad, got into McKinsey in consulting. So again, till that I was doing the typical journey that you would see a lot of today's youth does, right? Did projects across in McKinsey across fields. The good thing of a consulting project is, very early on you get exposed to different industries. Right. I still remember in my first study itself, in like 2 weeks into my study, I was supposed to present to the CEO of a $1 million, billion-dollar company, right? And you think sometimes, as a kid, you've just passed out, but that's how that world works. And I think it pushes you to learn fast, and go ahead. Did that for around 3 years. But I come from a Marwadi family. So for me, business was always there. I was the most qualified in my family. And that's when, decided to leave McKinsey. At that time, when I left, it wasn't clear that I want to do this idea, A or B. It was, let's figure it out. Till the time I'm in McKinsey, I'll be too comfortable to figure it out. And that's when Aditi, my wife and co-founder at the Baker's Dozen now. So she also incidentally was, completing a project. She was also looking to start something on her own. And I think that time, in a moment of, I think, naivety, we decided that, let's start doing it together. I think it's worked out for us, but obviously, being work partners and home partners, it's a 24-hour job, right? But Aditi and me decided to start something together. Then we said, okay, let's meet, various entrepreneurs, various people who have, even entrepreneurs, right? People who have been in companies and built it from within for 20-30 years. We, through our contacts, through, the IIM network, etc., managed to meet almost 100 odd folks. And these were people, varied experiences, right? We met somebody who runs a textile mill. We met somebody who runs an NGO, somebody who runs the ambulance service for the Gujarat government. Right. The idea was to not, say which idea works, but what concepts, how do those people think, right? And in one of those conversations, in a very passing statement, somebody mentioned to us that India mein achhi bread nahi milti. And that was literally the 1 point problem statement which stuck in our head. Right. And this is 2012. So at that time, India was literally just awakening to even multigrain bread. Brown bread had become like fancy bread. Multigrain to was like, agar mil gaya means it's only for parties. Right. You only entertain guests with that. And that's when we said, but it's a daily use item. While bread is not endemic to India like roti is, but it's a daily use item. Most houses use bread on a daily basis, right? Bachcho ke tiffin mein wahi jata hai. So that's when, we felt, okay, it's a sizable opportunity and it needs to be solved. I still, coming back to the background just for 1 second, a lot of people still at that time, initial 3-4 years, a lot of people, the comment used to be, from an MBA to a bread wala, right? And it's a big jump from one end to another. I think what excited me was more than whether it is bread or cake or cookies. I think it was So I'm a very, very touch and feel person, right? I need the product on a shelf. I need to be able to touch it. I don't understand tech. I don't understand, that part, right? So for me, a brand gets built when it is on the shelves, when it is in houses, when it is on the kitchen platform, and when it is on the breakfast table. Right. And that's where I think, it struck a chord with me. Aditi had always been enthusiastic about food, and she always wanted to learn more. So that's when we decided to start TBD. One of the first things we did was we said we cannot depend on external chefs throughout. We'll build a great team. We'll have that, but I cannot, put my business at stake because of an external chef, right? And that's when we felt one of us should have the technical expertise. And that's when Aditi went to the French Culinary Institute in New York and to Le Cordon Bleu in Paris to learn baking. Here, the idea was to learn from the experts. See, if you want to learn how roti is made, you'll not go to New York, right? You'll not go to France. You'll come to India, right? How idli is made, you'll go to South India, right? Now, how bread is made, Indians cannot teach you how bread is made. That has to be learned from the experts. And there is a tradition to bread making, which the French, the Americans have a great knack of taking everything that the French do, and making it like more, commercial kind of thing, right? So that also kind of helped us. But that's when once she came back after doing her courses, and that's when we started off in Bombay. That was where the brand started. This was around 2013 March.
Sneh, it's an amazing story. In fact, the research that you did met more than 100 folks, across the country, across various sectors, industries, and then you zeroed down on bakery as a category and industry. But obviously, you must have done your math at that time. And
Yeah.
But what was the market opportunity that you had, thought of? And because one thing is there is a gap, but other thing is the expertise part. Now you very well, you guys covered the expertise part by Aditi going to New York and doing the course in bakery, etc. So that was taken care of, but that was just from the product knowledge perspective. But
Yeah.
the whole business had to be set up right from the scratch. So what was the first thing that you had to do, and what was those initial challenges, apart from the knowledge of bakery?
So, see, firstly, though, we got down to setting up our manufacturing facility. We have always, we never have believed in outsourcing. And one of the reasons why we don't do that is, honestly, find me a manufacturer who can make me a good sourdough. You can outsource a bun, you can outsource a roll, you can outsource, a simple cookie or a biscuit. But a good cookie, a good bread, a good sourdough is not something which you can outsource because people don't make it that way. Right. So we set up our own manufacturing. We took a small 1,000 square feet kind of place in an industrial kitchen in Bombay, and started setting up. Right. Now, what happened was when Aditi came back from doing her courses, right? Now, let's say if she had a recipe of something, she would come and do those trials over here. And they would be disasters. The bread wouldn't, rise. It would be, it would just crumble. And, we said, okay, this is not working. Something needs to change. And, what a lot of people in the industry do is they kind of start using premixes to bake. Now, premixes will give you consistency, but will always give you a chemical flavor to it. It's always an artificial product, and it increases the cost a lot because now you're kind of importing the premix, right, from a France or from a US or wherever. So that's when Aditi wrote to her head chefs from the institutes where she was learning. And, one of the things that they told her was a chef is as good as the ingredients that he gets and he can work with. So reality is there is a flour in India, there is a water in India. The flour has the particular gluten percentage. I cannot change that. It's not in my lifetime where I can go and change it, what's happening in the fields, right? So we have to make do with what we have, but can we tweak and use our intelligence to make the best product possible out of that? So that's when it took almost 6-8 months to kind of, work on that. And by around March 2013 is when we launched our first retail store. Even till today, that store is still active. It's in Prabhadevi. And if imagine just this scenario, right? It is so there's this on that main road from Siddhivinayak temple, where Beaumont and all those, where your actors stay. And on the other side, there's a Mercedes-Benz showroom, and right opposite that, there is a small shop selling 13 types of bread. And people were amazed that there is a high-end retail store selling bread. They would come in and say, "Ki acha jewelry ka dukaan hai, kya hai?" Because on that street you would expect that. But we felt the brand needed a positioning. The brand needed a place where people can come and experience the love for bread. And that's when we started with 13 items on our menu, like the baker's dozen, as per the name. And sourdough was like, prime and center at that time. And people were amazed. And I think what happened initially, it took off because then what we realized, there were a lot of people who had either traveled abroad, got exposed, now, they would, let's say, find this bread in a Taj ka patisserie, but that you're not going to go there every day. You're not going to go there even once a month, maybe, you'll just happen to bypass it and you'll pick it up. But here we were offering, sourdough bread at an affordable price available near to you. And that's where I think the concept, really took off, and then expanded to various retail stores, Bombay, then started tying up with retail partners, right? Like your Nature's Basket, Big Basket, etc.
Okay. Sneh, we'll come to that part.
Yeah.
You mentioned about the product, and sourdough was one of them. That was the base. You clearly, mentioned that we did not want to outsource it. But normally in this business, people outsource, because bakery is a business where, people look at the key players, key manufacturers who have mastered the art. But in this case, as a startup, you decided, let's do the experiment, took the 1,000 square feet store, etc. So what was your product portfolio planning? You said baker's dozen, that's there. But what was your key product, from an offering perspective? Was sourdough as one of the key, or you had decided at that time that, I'll give a platter of offerings?
So see, the idea was always that it would be across bakery products. So it was that eventually we'll do breads, cakes, cookies, other products also. The reason to start off with breads was two-pronged. Actually, one was, almost out of compulsion. So when we started, we said, Aditi will learn bread, and for pastry or cakes, we will hire a chef. That was, at least we said, for that part, maybe we can think of, getting somebody. We didn't find anybody. And when we started doing breads, we felt that it is much better if we are the, the people who actually kind of, control that, right? The production and the technique of making it. But the idea was always that pastries will follow, cookies will follow. One more reason why that was done, and today in hindsight, I think it worked much better for us, is we were the only ones who were able to create a brand out of bread. See, if you go to any bakery shop today, you go to any local bakery shop, you will see cakes in a nice showcase. You will see your, your Black Forest, tiramisu, all of that, And bread, आप एक बार कभी notice करना, bread हमेशा या तो बाहर रहेगा, या फिर it will be, behind that shopkeeper where you cannot reach it. You have to just tell भैया एक bread देना and he will give you, right? So bread is almost like a stepson in that house, right? Which nobody wants, it's kept aside, kind of thing. We brought that into the center, right? We said this store is only going to sell bread. That created a novelty value. That made people come and see, what's this about? Because it's not any other bakery. Now we are actually, completely different than what anybody else thinks when they think of bakery in India. So that was the initial plan, but obviously then the idea was always to extend the product portfolio.
How many types of bread you sell?
Today we have almost 25 types of bread. And overall the SKU range is almost now around at 65, 70.
Can you tell me about the sourdough bread?
Hmm.
It has gained popularity across the globe, but when you launched
Yeah.
it in Mumbai, how did the customers respond to this particular product?
So, it was very interesting. And I'll share a few customer experiences right over here. So when we started off, Aditi and me used to go house to house sampling. So what we did was, there were a few of these big gated communities around, right? So let's say there's a community of 500 flats. We would find some contact, somebody, one person inside. We would say, Dekho, I don't want to go through the society and all. You just get me entry into the building. And we would go in the evening from like 5 to 8. Aditi and me would start from the top floor, go down house by house, and we would give people a small sampler. We would give them one sourdough, one sliced bread, one or two things. And we would literally tell them, कि auntie, we are a new bakery. We have just started. आप try करना. अगर आपको अच्छा लगा तो आप feedback देना. नहीं अच्छा लगा तो भी feedback देना. But no compulsion, nothing. आपके लिए बस ये welcome gift है. And it's amazing as to how much people want to share and talk when you do this. A lot of time, once we evolve as founders, we kind of go away from the customer. Then the team start talking to them, etc. But till date today, those first set of customers at Prabhadevi and they still have my number. Like I still get calls on Sunday morning saying, why is the shop not open? Is there an issue today? I'm missing my bread. And I love those parts, right? And that's where the real feedback comes. So when we started giving this sourdough, especially, I still remember there was this one old man and he came he came after a long time to the door. I think he was having difficulty in walking and he saw this bread. And, he almost looked at us and said, oh, I was in France for 20 years. This is what it reminds me of, and he almost was so emotional on seeing it. Right. While on the other hand, you had other families who they didn't understand what sourdough is. But they would call us and say, "Ki wo kishmish wala bread de do." We had a nuts-based sourdough. So I think people realize that it's a different bread. See, sourdough by its nature, it's gut friendly. It's lighter on your digestion, right? One slice of our 4-grain sourdough, which is our signature product, right? One slice can give you as much protein as a katori of dal.
Wow.
Right. So if from a health point of view, obviously, all of those parameters are much better. But in the end, it's a tasty bread. You have a sandwich out of 2 slices of sourdough. It's like a lunch, but on the other hand, if you're having a mass bread, it's mostly air, right? When you're having a sandwich, till date today, people always judge a sandwich by the filling. They don't judge it by the bread. Nobody ever says कि ये sandwich में bread कितना अच्छा था. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where sourdough kind of started changing. And obviously what happened was, I think initially it took time to pick up. But especially, the COVID years when baking went off the roof, everybody was baking at home. It became therapeutic. Everybody became a sourdough expert. People started having their own starters.
Yes.
And that's when people realize that, a simple thing like bread, which is flour, water, salt, yeast, right? See, there's no hiding in bread. In pastry, let's say, I make some mistake. I can have a nice decoration, make it look better. Bread, once it is gone into the oven, you, me, nothing, nobody can do anything about it. It will decide its own journey, right? So even a simple thing like that can be tasty, can actually make you feel good. I think that evolution has happened. And that's where today's sourdough has become like a mark of, having arrived in life in a way.
Arrived in life, yes. Another question that comes up here is, the changing consumer habits now and the model of baker's dozen. So,
Yeah.
Sneh, was it the baker's dozen adopted to the consumers' choices, or the consumers adopted to baker's dozens products which were available, because it was a novelty for them to try it out? Because you did all the research, you went from top floor to ground floor, giving free samples, etc.
Yeah.
Was it, which way it was like? Did you adopt to the consumers or consumers adopted to your unique idea?
So I'll tell you, I think it was a meeting point, and I'll explain to you why. Right now, when I look at bread, especially, See, we always said if you're only selling sourdoughs, people are used to, let's say, a mass bread today, right? Now, this is too far a jump for somebody to do, right? Even from a thinking point of view, suddenly, if you're every day eating a sliced bread, I can't tell you, and that also mass sliced bread, I can't tell you that now you have to start using a sourdough, right? So that even if it is a unique product, customers are not going to make that jump. That's when we started also, we had your daily sliced bread. We had a baker's dozen version of it. You know, it was whole wheat, it was no preservatives, it was much better for you, all of that. But I can't expect somebody who's used to a square sliced bread to suddenly start using a loaf. So I think we adapted to the customer where we said, okay, we'll take you on a journey. You first move to our sliced bread. If you get used to it, then, you know, try our sourdough and move. And actually, we have seen customers move it, right? It's almost like your life's journey. See, if I tell a 20, 25-year-old fresh pass out that, you know, spend money on a sourdough and, you know, enjoy the flavor, even if he's from an IIT, IIM, it's not about the money. Now it's about the awareness, right? But the same person, the moment, you know, they become 35, 40, they are exposed to the world, you know, they have started doing brunches with their friends, you know, that's when they start talking about these terms, right? And that's when, and especially when kids come in, now you want your kids to have the best food, you know, that nutrition becomes important. So if we have seen that journey where people who were sliced bread consumers of ours have now moved to sourdoughs, and there's a new generation that comes into the sliced bread. So I think it's that, right? We have to adapt to the customer while ensuring that the uniqueness of the product does not get lost. So you can't change the product to just pander to the taste of the consumer, right? If you believe in your product, that should be there, but you have to create a ladder for them to go with you. I can't hear you. Sorry. Yeah.
Sneh, now the brand was created. The positioning was almost there.
Yeah.
Now the growth had to, be given a priority.
Yeah.
So from one store at Prabhadevi to, and one city to 33 cities is what you are present. How
Correct.
did this journey happen? So can you take us through the distribution, the sales, the distribution strategy that saw the baker's dozen had from the first store till the current situation?
I'll break up that answer into two parts, our journey into two parts, Hitesh. So one is a 2013 to almost 19, when we were dealing with a very fresh, as in fresh product, as in low shelf life, right? So our breads was 1 day, our cakes was 2 days, and we were manufacturing in Bombay, we were selling in Bombay. And at that time, max, we had expanded to Pune, right? But how do I go to a Bangalore? How do I go to a Delhi? Now, one way to do that is by setting up manufacturing facility everywhere, right? Which is what historically most bakeries in India have done. We felt that we wanted central control on manufacturing, right? We didn't want to outsource manufacturing to one player in Delhi, one in Bangalore separately. That's when we again went back to the masters. We went to Europe to study as to how do these guys manage the shelf life. And over there are companies who are manufacturing in Eastern Europe, in Poland, and supplying bread daily to UK, Spain, things like that, right? Wow. And there we came upon a packaging technology, which kind of helps enhance the shelf life, right? So we worked with a German manufacturer over almost 1.5 years, did a lot of trials because, again, see, your Indian climatic conditions are different. The heat, the humidity, it kind of, it actually adds to the microbial growth. So that's when we did a lot of experiments, worked on this modified packaging, right? And came upon with our own fresh lock packaging. Now what that does is that enhances the shelf life of the product without affecting the authenticity of the product. So our breads today are without preservatives, but have 7 days shelf life. Our cakes today are at 3 months from a shelf life point of view. Now, when that change happened around 2019 is when we decided to move our manufacturing to Ahmedabad, where we are now, our HO, everything. Now we are based in Ahmedabad. We had a family based in Ahmedabad. Aditi is from Ahmedabad. We felt manufacturing was much easier over here. We could get more space. And that's when today, so we have now set up, it's a 30,000 square feet facility, right? And from here, everything gets made, goes pan India. So every product, whether it is Chennai, Calcutta, Delhi, Bombay, Pune, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, wherever, Bangalore, every product gets made from this one facility. The next person who opens it is straight the customer.
And it's still fresh.
It is still fresh. It's absolutely fresh. It is, you know, it's almost like, see, when you pack it in a normal bag, right? In a plastic bag, the way a normal mask bread comes, that bag is still breathing. So, you know, your product has started deteriorating once it is packed also. But our packaging, you open it, that's when the deterioration happens. Right? So it's actually fresher for you. And that's where, you know, that when that happened at the back end, and now we have the ability to expand, that's when the major growth happened. So in the last 3 years, that's where the growth has happened. We have grown almost 6 times in the last 3 years. We have grown rapidly across cities, across platforms. Omni-channel, we have always been omni-channel from a buzzword point of view. And that's how, you know, the journey has been. So it's 2 parts to that question.
So from one store to omni-channel, can you share some light on your omni-channel journey? How did you go online and, you know, get success there as well?
Fair. See, Hitesh, omni-channel is a buzzword invented in the last 1 or 2 years. According to me, all businesses were always omni-channel. Right? Like, but aap bachpan mein, you know, a coffee bite would sell everywhere. Right? Now, we, you know, in the startup world, we have to come up with new jargons every 6 months. Right? So that's when omni-channel came up. Now coming, you know, for me, omni-channel se zyada, the question was, where is my customer buying? So I'll give you an example of Bombay. What happened was, we started a store in Prabhadevi. Then we opened Bandra, then we opened Kemps Corner, right? We one day now we got a few, there was a group of customers who came from Powai. They were traveling or something, and they came to a Prabhadevi store and they loved the product and all. They said, you know, why are you not in Powai, etc. So we said, you know, okay, we'll look at a store. Said, no, but there's a store called Heiko. Why don't you supply them? Right. So we said, you know, interesting. And we went to Heiko and spoke to them, and they said, we love your products. Let's keep it. You know, that time I never thought I was actually now embarking on an omni-channel journey, right? Then Big Basket happened like that only. 2015, Big Basket started. They said, we want good bread. We have heard your bread is very good. Let's keep it, right? So we went online. So for me, I don't, you know, question omni-channel. For me, the simple point is this platform where my customer is? Online, offline? Whether it is today a Zomato, a Blinkit, an Instamart, a Big Basket, Nature's Basket, you know, we are now in talks with Reliance, you know, Spencer's. So for me, you know, it's not that one is better than the other. They all have their own customer segments. It's about us tailoring our assortment. So what is important as a brand is, you can't expect, so today, I can't expect to sell sourdough the same amount in Nature's Basket and in a Reliance Fresh. There's a difference in the customer base, right? But my cookies can go at both places maybe, right? So there are places you do, but omni-channel has always been in our DNA. Like in one locality, we will be serving through 10 modes to the same customer. And also, if you look at it from the customer point of view, if I ask you today, right, let's say you went to a Nature's Basket, you did not get our bread because, you know, we are selling only from our store. You will pick the bread over there because that's also good, high quality artisan bread of some other brand. And you will go, right? You're not going to think that I will go to the other store, buy bread. So it's too much effort for the customer. So we have to be wherever the customer wants us.
You spoke about the idea, the product, place, marketing.
Yeah.
But nothing happens without finance. And, you know, and very happy to hear that you have, you know, raised till date close to 5 million. And that's a testimony of the fact that the customers love the product, the investors have the confidence. But when did you decide to, you know, go for the investment part? And why was it so necessary for you to, take this investment? You could have managed the way you grew in Mumbai and then
Yeah.
Ahmedabad, etc. You could have, carried on. But what was the major reason for this, and how did it help you?
See, we ran it as a bootstrap company for almost 8 years, right? 7, 8 years. And I agree with you, an ideal way is to run a company like that, right? What happened was when we, changed our packaging, when we arrived at the conclusion that we can now expand pan-India, and we started growing, we started seeing offshoots, right? We said, okay, Bangalore is growing well for us, Delhi is growing well for us. We felt, there is a time to stabilize the business and there's a time to just accelerate. And we felt that was the point where we needed to go full out, right? In terms of our expansion across channels, building the team, the marketing capabilities. And that's when we felt, we needed to go for an investment round. We were very particular about the, the kind of investors also, and Fireside, who has come on board for us. They are a known, name in the consumer ecosystem, especially. And these are people who believe in building a brand over a long term. See, it's not that, you come today, this is not a business which will, grow X to 10X in 1 year. That does not happen because it's a cluster based, availability based, distribution led business. So, you have to give it time for it to grow. It will grow naturally. It will grow sustainably. But it will take time. And that's when we said, now that we have the foundation built, we have the manufacturing expertise, we have the supply chain capability, we have the technical product sorted out, and we have good initial uptake from customers. That's when we felt we should go for the investment.
And what about your growth plans now, Sneh? How do you, what's your growth strategy for the next 3 to 5 years?
See, we, today I feel, Hitesh, we have not even scraped the surface right now. Bakery is a huge market, right? But, officially by some retailer, body numbers, it's around a 75-80,000 crore market and growing. Right. But I'm saying, you leave that aside. Those are numbers for a separate, it can be in your pitch deck. But for me, my reality is that everybody's consuming bread. Everybody's consuming bakery products, right? There is enough strata of society which is willing to pay 10-20 rupees higher for a good high quality product. Today also almost around 80% of our sales comes from the top 3 cities, which is Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore. So today itself, if I were to talk about just expanding our reach within India, growing deeper, it takes cities like Hyderabad, Calcutta, take the tier 1 cities, right? Today, cities like Indore, Jaipur, Vizag, Lucknow, these are places where there are people who are wanting that product. There is one store in Rajkot, one retail store in Rajkot, which does more than any store in Ahmedabad for us. Because, there is that in latent demand, these guys have the money, but they don't have the availability. Right. So that's where we feel that, it's going to be one, geographic expansion across India, portfolio expansion in terms of product ranges. So, if I look at cookies, for example, we have 3-4 flavors right now, but can we go deeper in that? Can we do more of, we have just started a category called toasts, where we are kind of re-looking at the way rusk is looked at in India. Right. Yes. So there are categories like this where we'll go deeper on the product. Then there's the geographical part. Eventually, this is also, so incidentally, our first exports happened to Middle East this year. Right. There were a few retailers. There's one retailer from Middle East who actually picked up products and is retailing. And we are now getting repeat orders over there. So again, exports, if I look at Middle East, if I look at Singapore, so these are your next frontiers, right? But I think in India itself, for the next 2-3 years, there is so much for us.
How much costlier would you be from a normal product?
So product to product, on an average, if I were to compare like to a, let's say, a proper Britannia Harvest Gold modern kind of range, then we would be at around the 1.5 to 2x range to that. Having said that, we are now coming up with product ranges, keeping in mind the brand ethos intact. So whether it is the authenticity of the ingredients, the goodness, the abundance of it, the generosity of it, and also, the brand value and the packaging, we are coming up with products which will be, let's say, around 1.3 to 1.5x, kind of bringing that barrier down, right? But the idea is, again, coming back to what I said earlier, right? That can I take the customer on that journey? So today, can I ask a Britannia customer to spend, 1.2x more, move to us, then, move higher gradually and eventually move to the sourdough, that journey of, consumption.
So Sneh, this question is more from the perspective that are you going to create a product at that price point, or which means that the quality also has to be, commensurate to the price. So the question is, you will keep the same quality and the same price, or you will also introduce a product which is value for money kind of a thing?
So the quality will remain the same. The absolute price point will change. And why that will change is, it will be a bit of, working on the pack size, the size of the pack, looking to kind of make that first entry point affordable for a customer. So I'll give you an example to this, right? Today we sell our dark chocolate cookies, which are our highest selling cookies. They sell for around 190 rupees for a pack of cookies. Now what we are doing is, we are launching a variant of it, which will be at a 50 rupee price point. Now, as an absolute price point, it is a very affordable pack, right? Yes, now at a per grammage level, it might be similar to what we are doing today. But I'm giving you a chance to try TBD product at an absolute price point. And we are confident in our product that people will come back. Right? So I will not see, I cannot, as a brand, we cannot go to a mass quality level and then compete. That's not where the brand will stand. But at an absolute price point, can I give you a chance to try the brand?
What is, now we'll come to the fag end of the interview. What is the message that you have to give to budding bakers? Because there are hundreds and thousands of bakeries in India, and there are people who are looking at this category also, because it's a very lucrative category. We have got 1.4 billion people in India, and bakery is something which is very, very important, which cannot be ignored. So there are a lot of players coming in. What would be your advice to startups? And my question is pinpointed to the startup community. What would be your advice?
I would say, get your business model right in either in a city or a locality, or literally a pin code. First, get that right. A lot of times, I think where startups, many of them, sometimes go wrong is that you see some initial uptake, see today any new product comes in, 100, 200 people will try it, right? And then people say, okay, now let's grow to 10 cities, or, 5,000 pin codes, and can I make it a pan-India brand and things like that, right? That's great. But, do you see those repeats happening in that locality? Do you see customer love for you in that locality? Do you see people talking about your brand? Do you see word of mouth marketing starting to happen? Right? Do you see retailers asking for your products? Since I'm talking to the Retailer Association, it's important that there is a pull from their side also, right? And that reflects on customers going and telling them that, why are you not keeping this in your store? Right? Till today, when we started, we tied up with all of these retail chains, right? Your Star, Big Bazaar, Future Group at that time, Nature's Basket. And we got through because it always used to happen in all my meetings. The top management of those retailer associations used to always consume our product. And they would go and tell their category managers that mere ghar pe ye aa raha hai, and you are not keeping it in our own store. How does that work? Right? My family has to go to some other store to buy this product. So if as a startup, let's first prove your model right, sustainable, good economics, work out your distribution, understand what's working, what's not working. See, if you understand what's not working at a pan-India level, it's a much bigger cost than at a Whitefield or a Bandra level. Right. So I think that, and I think sometimes, the problem also is most startups founders think that they're running out of time always. It's always that, okay, it's been 3 years, where have I reached? It's been 5 years, that guy became a unicorn. What am I doing? So I think sustainable businesses take time to get built, and brands also take time.
Sustainable businesses take time, and to build a brand also, it takes time. With this, Sneh, we come to the last leg of this D2C dialogue. It's a rapid fire round. I'm going to ask a couple of questions to you, and
Okay.
You'll have to answer it.
Do I get a hamper?
Yes, you will. You will get an hamper for sure. So before we start, you can be free and give your inputs the way you would like to have. So ideally it should be a one word, but you can give a sentence or two. That's okay. If you had to choose one product from the baker's dozen that represents your culinary excellence, which one would it be and why?
The 4-grain sourdough. I don't think there's a sourdough like that in India, period.
Okay. What is the most memorable customer feedback you have received?
I mentioned the old man, and I think that was very emotional. Just one more over here. There was a chef from a leading French bakery who had once come to visit India, and he was visiting a lot of bakeries. And after that, he came to our facility, and he ended up, after tasting our products, he said, for 3 days, I've been visiting bakeries in India. Everywhere, and these were his words, I'm just getting the same shit in different forms. So I'm getting, the same roll as a bread, as a roll, as a focaccia burger buns. And this is the only place where I get to see that there are different recipes for each bread. And that was quite amazing for us to hear.
Excellent. If you could collaborate with any celebrity chef or baker, who would it be and why?
Not huge into celebrity chefs or bakers, but one person or one family I want to meet is, have you seen the Lotus Biscoff biscuit?
Yeah.
I just want to meet that family because with one biscuit, one flavor, it's a business which has lasted almost some 70, 80 years. And, it's a global business. I think that to achieve that using one product, like it's not even flavors of that. You don't get flavors. People make their own flavors with that. I think it would be amazing to just understand how that happened.
What's the most challenging aspect of running a successful bakery brand in today's competitive market?
Distribution. It's a perishable business. So if you are not strong in distribution, operations will really just, it hits you hard if it doesn't work.
If you had to describe the baker's dozen in 3 words, what would they be?
Abundance of the ingredients that we use, authenticity again, because whatever you see on the pack is inside the product, and goodness. We just stay away from using anything which is not right for the product. I'm not saying whether it's healthy or not healthy, right? If it's a chocolate, product, but it should have pure chocolate, it should have couverture chocolate, right? It's just the way we think about it.
Abundance, authenticity, and goodness.
Yeah.
If you could give one superpower to your products, what would it be?
If they could just fly and reach customers' houses, my distribution cost will be 0. I think, drones should work over here.
Name one brand you see as your closest competitor.
Actually, very honest answer, none, because there is nobody, as a premium bakery brand across India, because I would be doing ourselves and even the mass brands a disservice if I said Britannia or a Harvest Gold or Modern, because they are in a different league. We are in a different league. I would say really nobody as of now.
Please answer in numbers. Where do you see 5 years down the line the brand Baker's Dozen?
5 years, I would say at least a 500 to kind of 1,000 crore kind of that level from a revenue point of view. And more importantly, a very, very strong brand. I would say, numbers is fine, but I think that customer love and the strength of the brand is what is important.
Thank you very much, Sneh. That was an extremely insightful discussion with you. Learned a lot about the Baker's Dozen, the industry. Thanks for coming to D2C Dialogues. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks a lot.